When we picture the Second World War, we visualize massive beach landings, sprawling front lines, and direct infantry combat. The story we usually hear is one of sheer numbers and conventional battles. But many decisions that determined the outcome of the conflict happened far from any battlefield, locked away in secure rooms and classified memos. Declassified military documents now reveal a parallel conflict. Governments on both sides engaged in a shadow war fought with bizarre scientific experiments, massive theatrical illusions, and calculated atrocities. To properly understand how this global conflict was won and lost, we have to look past the tanks and planes and examine human ingenuity and human depravity pushed to their absolute limits. This map shows the broad strategic fronts of the war, including the critical junction between the African and European theaters. In 1943, the Allies needed to invade Sicily, but knew the German High Command was waiting. To bypass this, British intelligence devised Operation Mincemeat. They acquired the body of a deceased civilian, dressed him in the uniform of a Royal Marines officer, and planted fake personal letters on him. These forged documents deliberately misled enemy intelligence into believing the main Allied attack would strike Greece and Sardinia instead. This elaborate theatrical plot was partly inspired by a memo co-authored by a naval intelligence officer who later created James Bond, Ian Fleming. While the British used deception on a grand strategic scale, the American military applied it directly on the battlefield. They formed the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, a specialized unit recruited heavily from art schools and advertising agencies. They deployed inflatable rubber tanks and used massive sound trucks to broadcast the synchronized noise of marching infantry and artillery fire, projecting the illusion of entire armored divisions where there were actually only a few men. By drawing German counterattacks toward empty fields and fake encampments, these artistic illusions successfully protected tens of thousands of real Allied soldiers from certain slaughter. As the war dragged on and casualties mounted, military leaders began looking beyond human soldiers and conventional machines, pouring resources into highly experimental, animal-based weapons. The United States tested Project X-Ray, an initiative built around dropping live bats from aircraft. Scientists attached miniature incendiary devices to the animals, intending for them to roost inside the wooden infrastructure of Japanese cities and trigger massive fires. On the Eastern Front, Soviet forces conditioned hungry dogs to associate the underside of enemy tanks with food. They then strapped high explosives to the animals' backs, intending to detonate them as they ran beneath advancing German armor. While mostly ineffective in combat, these projects reveal how the immense pressure to break the global stalemate overrode conventional military logic for radical, desperate science. But the search for unconventional weapons produced far darker outcomes in occupied Manchuria. Here, the Japanese military established a covert biological and chemical warfare research facility known as Unit 731. Officially, the imperial government classified it as the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. In reality, scientists there were weaponizing plagues. Inside the compound, researchers subjected captive Chinese civilians and Allied POWs, chillingly called logs, to lethal disease injections. This horror did not remain confined to the lab. Aircraft dropped infected fleas over Chinese cities, triggering massive outbreaks resulting in hundreds of thousands of deaths. Unit 731 marks a point where scientific advancement operated entirely devoid of human empathy, representing the absolute moral floor of the conflict. Just as entire research programs were kept out of the public eye, some of the most brutal physical combat of the war occurred in extreme, isolated environments that standard history rarely examines. The Battle of Attu, fought in the Aleutian Islands, was a major land engagement on North American soil. American and Canadian forces endured thick fog and sub-zero temperatures, resulting in heavy casualties in a campaign that remains largely overlooked. Contrast that freezing isolation with Peleliu. Marines suffered massive losses navigating jagged coral caves and crushing heat, yet the battle was heavily overshadowed by the more famous campaigns at Iwo Jima and Okinawa. When fighting stopped, governments quickly moved to control the narrative of these extremes. The artists and designers of the Ghost Army, whose brilliant illusions saved thousands, were sworn to secrecy, their heroics classified for the next 50 years. Conversely, the United States secretly granted full legal immunity to the command staff of Unit 731. The architects of those biological atrocities faced no prosecution, exchanging their dark medical research data for their freedom. The complete story of the Second World War proves that victory was secured through massive infantry deployments and genuine bravery, but it was also cemented by a chilling willingness to embrace massive deceptions, obscure battlefields, and profound moral compromises in the shadows.